the Juba Peace Agreement had very clear directives on what to do. And what was supposed to be done was that the first thing is that government should put in place what they call the National Transitional Justice Working Group. Two, that government of Uganda should have put in place what they call International Crimes Division. That was done. At least those two were done. As we talk now, I think the International Crimes Division has one of the best judges at the international rating. Only that the challenge is those they are trying. Like if you look at our young brother, Ko Yellow and all these things. That brings another element to it. But as far as the mandate of Juba was concerned, was put a legal framework that allows us to have a mechanism of developing a sustainable peace process. So that included that we needed to look at issues of accountability on what took place in northern Uganda from when the war started. And this accountability meant on all sides. On the government side, for those who committed atrocities, as far as NRA or UPDF was concerned, they should have as well been probed. As far as the LRA and other insurgents were concerned, they should have been probed. And that is why it came out in I think what you raised, that the European Union, if you remember the question of the Belgian ambassador, that why is it that it was a one-sided trial or accountability process? And I think that is true. Those are the issues we discussed in a meeting, that a collective, comprehensive process should have brought on board all those who were found to be accountable. And that included as well other UPDF commanders who still are at large, that should, by all means, undergo some of these processes. But what we need now, while the international justice takes place in The Hague, what Ugandans demand, that is why I said earlier, is that it has not been ended well, it was badly ended, is that we need a legal framework that allows these processes to take place. And these processes can take place when fundamentally we are done with two things as outcomes. One, we should ensure that the government of Uganda, in a very speedy process, comes out with what we call the National Transitional Justice Policy. The National Transitional Justice Policy would bring on board the aspect of accountability, the aspect of traditional justice, the aspect of reparation, because reparation has been one of the core challenges that today the victims that underwent this period of conflict have not been benefiting. Those who lost their lives, those who lost property, children who had no opportunities for education, and many other things. Some of you here are victims because time was not there for you to go to school. You lost the opportunity for 20 years. And that is why this framework should allow this, that we have in place this policy that then would help us to look at these gaps and fill them. Restoring dignity of these takes time. And that's why government should own this process, regardless of not having committed itself. I think we have a draft policy in place. So far it is a 5th draft, and it is lying with the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. We believe this is the time to pick and dust this draft and proceed with it to Cabinet and bring it to Parliament. And these are the core issues that we stood for to campaign. For many, I used to call it the Victims' Compensation Act, which still goes on to what we call reparation law. And as I speak, we have pushed this process very hard. We have been informed that in the next quarter is when this draft will be taken to Cabinet and brought to Parliament for discussion. Because Parliament already passed what we call the LRA resolution. And that is enough starting point. If government will delay with this process, Parliament will take its unilateral process. 2 is what we call the National Reconciliation Law. If you pass a policy must move together with the law. And that requires that if we have a national reconciliation law in this country, and as you know, Uganda has been a divided country. The North-South has been divided, and no one should hide around it. Without DDR process, you cannot have peace. Look at Sudan, the same thing. A process that was supposed to bring peace in northern Uganda should have meant when the gun falls silent, we demobilize. We disarm. And then after that, we move into reintegrate. Reintegration means a lot for those who are in the bush, and then for those who are scattered over. The IDPs who still live to date in many areas outside actually sub-region. Look at Kampala. Look at Jinja. Look at Entebbe. Look at Gulu Town. There are many urban IDPs here who have never been reintegrated to where they came from. So these processes are all hanging. And unless there is a formal mechanism in place, it is very difficult. And the outcomes of failure to do this are now these emerging challenges. And then we are being compounded by what is coming out from South Sudan. South Sudan is a collapsing state. It is Uganda that has been struggling to hold it. But internally it is imploding. And this has a lot of impact on the recovery process in northern Uganda.